Hello, dear ones. Father Peter John coming to you from All Saints Orthodox Church in Bloomington, Indiana. Christ is in our midst. I've been speaking this week about saints who care for the poor and needy. And I began on Monday with Mother Maria Skoptsova of Paris. Tuesday, yesterday, was Grand Duchess Elizabeth, the new martyr of Russia and the Bolshevik Revolution. And today I want to switch gears just a little bit. And actually I'm going to talk about somebody that I've already spoken about. I've already done a piece on his life as one of the saints of America, and that is St. John of Shanghai in San Francisco. There are so many stories that can be told about St. John. He had an incredible love for the poor and for those who were in need, for the orphans in particular. He was an awesome man when it came to taking care of people. So I want to tell just a couple of stories from his life and his experience in caring for those in need. One of them comes from his time in Shanghai. When he was bishop there in Shanghai, he was called St. John the Barefoot because he would go out walking at night. He'd go to various places to go and minister to people. And while he was out, if he encountered a homeless person or a poor person that didn't have shoes, he would give them his own shoes. And so he would come back home and he would be barefoot. So he got this nickname of St. John the Barefoot. One of the times he was out walking, it was in, like I said, in China. And, well, let me just give you a little background. In China, it is encouraged strongly, it is the law now, that you only have one child. And so there's an incredibly high abortion rate in China. And then there's also infanticide, and that was what was taking place when this situation with St. John happened. He was there on the streets of Shanghai, walking at night, and he encountered, there was this sound of a baby crying. And so he walked back into this alley, and he sees this dumpster, and he goes up and he realizes that the baby is crying from the dumpster. And so he goes up to the dumpster, and he's going up to rescue the child, and all of a sudden he hears this deep, low growling behind the dumpster. And so he walks around kind of the edge of the dumpster to look and see, and there is this man, presumably either the baby's father or somebody who had been hired to discard the baby. Who knows? But whatever the case, there is this man crouched behind the dumpster who is presumably there to make sure nobody rescues the baby. Well, St. John, he had a gift of someone call it clairvoyance or insight. St. John had a way sometimes of seeing the future. Well, apparently he had anticipated what was going to happen, this encounter. And so he pulls out of his cassock a small bottle of vodka, unopened, and he hands it to the man crouched in the shadows. And the man takes the vodka from his hand and runs down the alleyway and disappears around the corner into the darkness. And St. John then reaches down into the dumpster, picks up the little baby girl, and takes her back to the orphanage where they care for her. So that was just one example of him caring for those in need. Another one comes at the orphanage in San Francisco, where he one night came in from a hard day of work. He always worked hard. He didn't sleep much. He didn't have a bed, by the way. If he ever slept, he slept sitting up in a chair. That's what he had. He had a chair. He didn't have a bed. That's the kind of ascetic he was. He denied himself all of these comforts in order that he might take up his cross and follow Christ and never get too comfortable in this world, because he knew he was in this world, but not of this world. So he comes home from a long day of work, and he comes into the orphanage, and there was a woman there who kind of ran the orphanage house where he lived too. And she says to him, "We have no food for the children. We have no food for the children." And he says, "It's okay, God will provide." She says, "No, we have no food for the children. You tell me that God will provide, but you haven't provided any food for the children." She's very upset. Obviously, she's in charge of all these kids, and they're going to wake up in 8 hours or whatever, and there's not going to be anything to eat. So St. John says, "Have faith." He goes upstairs, and he begins praying. And the woman downstairs can hear this, the sound of him dropping to his face on the floor and making prostrations before the Lord. This goes on all night long. Well, the woman who's downstairs, she has heard this going on all night long, and at one point, about 6 in the morning, it stops. And she's curious now, oh, why has he stopped praying? And then, as quickly as the sound had stopped, there's a knock at the door. She opens the door. It's the Wonder Bread delivery guy. He says, "Ma'am, I am so sorry to disturb you. I saw your light on. I know there are children here who are in need, and I just wanted to see if this would be helpful or not. You know, I have all of yesterday's leftover breads and pastries and things, and I've got to load my truck with today's stuff, and I'm just wondering, could I give you some of these breads and pastries and things for the children here?" St. John of Shanghai and San Francisco praying to God for us. Christ is in our midst.